Hello everyone, welcome to Ease IAS, myself Shiva Teja, faculty for anthropology. So today we are going to learn two concepts, that is participatory rural appraisal and participatory learning and action. See, most of the students have messaged me that they are confused regarding this. So today I want to explain this using certain examples. Actually, in anthropology, almost all the concepts are very simple if they have understood the core meaning of it. Okay, so many of the students miss out on the core meaning and they try to grab the definitions. And when you try to read the definitions without understanding what exactly it is, it becomes difficult to write them in the examination because you will focus on recalling rather than writing in your own terms. Okay, so now let us understand what is participatory rural appraisal, what is participatory learning and action. See, first of all, you know, in the past, the research used to be conducted, and what used to happen, the researcher used to go to the field and they used to extract the information. Okay, so what happened in 1970s, there was a shift from extraction to empowerment. So, the history of participatory research in anthropology reflects a fundamental shift in the power dynamics between the researcher and the community. Okay, so here in 1970s, there comes up a research method known as rapid rural appraisal. What is this rapid rural appraisal? It is a method, it is a method where the experts will visit a particular rural area, a particular village. The experts will visit the village and they will extract the data for outsiders. Okay, so this was in 1970s. And what happened in 1980s? In 1980s, there was a scholar known as Robert Chambers. Robert Chambers said that the locals, the locals know their problems better and they can understand their problems better rather than outsiders. So here there was a belief that the rural people are capable of mapping and analyzing their own reality better than outsiders. And in 1990s, there is further development. See here, this is known as participatory rural appraiser, where the people will analyze their problems, they will understand their reality, and they will identify it. And in 1990s, there came a new approach that not just finding out the problem. Okay, so now here in this, you are just recognizing the problem, but in 1990s, there come up participatory learning and action. So here what they have said is finding out the problem is not sufficient. The goal of anthropology is action. So the PLA emerged as an umbrella term. Okay, so participatory learning and action is an umbrella term for methods that combine understanding with the political and practical change. Okay, so now anything that you try to bring practical change among them, you're not just identifying, but if you're trying to bring a change, then that is the participatory learning and action. So let's understand the participatory rural appraisal and the participatory learning and action with examples and in real time application using some of the scholars. So I hope you have understood. In the first, what they used to do, they used to just go and extract the data and come out, so that this data is used by the outsiders. Now in the next stage, what is believed is that, see, the people know the problem and they can understand their own reality better. So you are trying to find out the problem. In the first case, it is believed that the local people don't have much knowledge, and these outsiders, these scientists should go there, they should study, they should find out the data and give it to the policymakers, so that policymakers will design something and they will execute. The first stage. Okay, so now here, at least in the next stage, what is believed is that local people know their problems better, so that they can identify it better. Now in the third stage, not just identifying the problem, but we should come up with the solution also. So this is the major difference. So what PLA is doing, it is nothing but action anthropology. So I hope you know the difference between applied anthropology and action anthropology. So let's look at these two methods in detail. Okay, so participatory rural appraisal is an approach and method to rural people enable rural people to share, enhance, and analyze their knowledge of life and conditions. Okay, so it is nothing but it is the diagnosis of the problem or visualization of the problem or the life around them and the conditions around them. Okay, so here anthropologist is just trying to stay outside, and they are letting the villagers to draw the map. Okay, so they are giving the stick or the chalk to draw the map of their own village and their problems. Okay, so the expert will learn. So the anthropologist will look at these people and he'll try to see how they are understanding and will learn from them, acknowledging that the villagers' local knowledge is more superior in the context. So, for an example, you can write about Igor Krupnik and D. Jolly. Okay, in the work, The Earth is Faster Now. Indigenous observations of Arctic environmental change. Arctic environmental change. Okay, so here anthropologists worked with the Inuit elders instead of relying on the satellite data. See, satellite data is ethic data. So that means from outside, if you are trying to look at it as an expert, you will be looking at the satellite data. So instead of using the satellite data, anthropologists relied on the information that is given by the elders. Okay, so these elderly people were showing the historical map. Okay, so they were saying that this is the route, this is how ice used to form here in the past. Now there is no ice. Okay, so there here they have taken the help of the elders and they have drawn the historical ice flow patterns instead of satellite. Based on 50 plus years of hunting experience of Inuits. Now you need to understand an important thing here, that the PRA maps, the maps that have been drawn using the knowledge of Inuit elders, not the satellite. These were able to identify safe ice zones, safe ice zones, and the dangerous currents that scientific models have missed out. Okay, so this was a classic participatory rural appraisal exercise. It extracted and visualized the indigenous knowledge to fill a gap in the scientific understanding. So I hope you are very clear with what is participatory rural appraisal. Now moving to participatory learning and action. So here participatory learning and action is an interactive, it's an interactive learning, it's an interactive learning, it's a shared knowledge and flexible analysis that leads to action. And one thing, this PLA is continuous in nature. It's not just an event, it's a continuous cycle. So here, what you'll be doing first, you'll be identifying the problems. So here, just like what has been visualized, here they'll visualize. Okay, so first they will identify the root causes and they will create a roadmap. Okay, so they'll create a plan that is known as community action plan. Now see, there is a problem. Now you want a plan to execute. Okay, and how this should be executed, they will draw the diagrams and then they will execute. Okay, so using an example, again we'll try to understand this as well. Okay, so let's take an example and understand participate learning and action here. Okay, so there was a study of women groups. Okay, women's groups practicing participatory learning and action to improve maternal health. Okay, so you can see this. So women's groups. Okay, so they have been using participatory learning and action to improve maternal and newborn health in a low resource settings. So we are not discussing any random things, any random research, which is very much verified and has been accepted in best of the best journals. So don't worry and you can outrightly use it. Okay, so this is in Jharkhand and Odisha, and this was with the help of NGO Ekjut. Okay, so here what has been observed? Okay, so the anthropologist intervention is not seen in small scale. Okay, so you will be noticing that a large scale anthropological intervention has been made. Here there are tribal communities first. The tribal communities in Jharkhand and Odisha and anthropologists together, they have entered into a cycle. Okay, so now anthropologists, what did they do? Anthropologists, they did not just map what is the problem. Okay, so they did not just tell that okay, there is more maternal deaths or maternal mortality rates, or like they did not talk about neonatal mortality rates alone, but they have identified first, and anthropologists brought women to the forefront. So this tribal woman came to the forefront, identified the problem, because anthropologists, they did not apply their knowledge. They have brought this woman also to the forefront, and now the woman said what are their biggest health threats. So they have mentioned sepsis as their threat. So now this first problem, major problem which is highlighted, has to be solved. So everybody voted that we'll solve the problem, this problem first, because see, now anthropologists helped women to identify what are their threats, and women have said, because there are multiple, but among that one is prioritized, and first they are trying to solve this. And once they have identified, they have used local solutions. Okay, so how they have used local solutions? They have used clean delivery kits. Okay, so they've used clean delivery kits, which are sterile blades and plastic sheets. Okay, so because of this, what happened? Now anthropologists help them use their own local knowledge to solve their own problem, and it is not just ending there. Okay, so they'll constantly take the feedback and they'll keep on improving. And the result here, that almost 33% less neonatal mortality rate has been observed because of this. Okay, so the study proved that communities, those who are using participatory learning and action cycles, reduced neonatal mortality rate by 33% compared to control groups. Okay, so compared to the groups where the people are not involved, the people are not identifying their problem, and they're not coming forward to use their own knowledge to solve the solution, because there the solutions are coming top down, they are not local. Okay, so the research here, okay, the research here in the participatory learning and action, they did not just study the death, but it prevented it. Participatory learning and action, it didn't study the death alone, it prevented it. So that's very important. So I hope you are very clear with participatory rural appraisal and participatory learning and action. Okay, so here, let me give you a quick review of it. So, PRA, PLA. So, in the PRA, what is the primary goal of PRA? Okay, it is just to diagnose, to understand what is happening. In PNA, it is focusing on how it is handled, how it should solve the problem. Okay, it is focusing on empowerment, and it is focusing on diagnosis and data generation. And what is the nature of engagement? Okay, so like here it is only one time, and what they do, few days of mapping or few days of understanding, it's just like a workshop. But here there is continuous, it is one time and it is continuous. Okay, and what is the role of anthropologist here? It is facilitator. Here is catalyst, and the output that you see is, it's just a calendar or a map, because you're just getting a list of the problem. Okay, but here you will be seeing a policy change. So the criticism of the PRA is, it is just cosmetic in nature. Okay, so the outsiders will identify the problem and they leave, but in PLA, the problem is identified and it is solved. But what is the criticism to PLA? The criticism is that it is slow and requires lot of time. That is the problem, and the commitment is also needed here. It is not so easy. So these are the criticisms. I hope you are clear with PRA and PLA. And if tomorrow a question is asked how PLA performs better than PRA, then you know what to write. You have a study to write about it, to explain it clearly in what way it is advantageous over the other. Okay, so thank you everyone. We'll be taking up other questions of Unit 8 in the 100 days challenge, but I wanted to make this video to give you a better clarity because most of the students have asked regarding PRA and PLA. Thank you.